Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm talking with Jason, and today we're going to be speaking about autism and Doctor Who too. So, thanks, Jason, for joining me today.
Yep, great. Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. So, Jason, could you do like a little introduction of yourself, just to start?
Yes. My name's Jason. I originally come from Swansea in South Wales. I'm in my early 50s, and I spent 25 years in architecture and decided to go for a complete career change in 2012 and became a train driver. And now I'm currently trying to get back into train driving after a bit of a health bother. And I'm married, no children, one dog and a mortgage. I'm married to Penny, and that is basically me. Always been interested in Doctor Who, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was in 2016, so I was 47. So that came as a bit of a major shock. Well, not a shock. That's a bit overdramatic. It was a case of, right, okay. But when I was diagnosed, it was a case of, congratulations, you've made it to this age. Off you pop. Here's a list of books you might want to read. Yeah. Oh, thanks. So that was my diagnosis. Since then, I've sort of got in with quite a large online community, which has been very helpful and supportive, and that's how I've come across Mason through a mutual friend, Carol Jean in the States.
I think it's good that Carol kind of linked us up, because like we like Doctor Who quite really much. So it's very good, because I know the last time we had a chat, we kind of discussed different locations, because as you said, you're from like Swansea, and that's where Doctor Who was mostly filmed. We discussed all the different locations, which is very interesting.
Because going back to the locations I'm interested in, because a lot of them are very old buildings they've used, which was something I was always been interested in and will always be interested in. That's one of the things. But one of the things I like about it is just sit down and watch and recognize places that I grew up as part of my previous life, in a way. Having worked out the other day that I've now lived away from Swansea longer than I ever lived there, but that's only by a few months.
Okay.
I don't know whether you could. I identify as British, not that I'm who's born in Wales. Before we get in any controversy there, let's just stop.
So with your autism, is there certain things that like you get annoyed with? Like, is there like anything that irritates you, like noise or anything kind of like that?
Sweet wrappers. Packaging, things that just crackle and stuff. If I'm having a bad day, they can really annoy me. If I'm trying to concentrate on something, this rustling going on, for me, going to the cinema is a nightmare. It is basically a form of torture. And I work on the principle, of course, being autistic, everything is black and white. I go to the cinema to watch and hear a film. Not listen to somebody else chomping on something. That is one of the things that really winds me up. One of the things that also is people being badly organized, being not taking responsibility for stuff. It's timekeeping. That's another one. If somebody says, I'll be there at 8 o'clock, well, I expect, for me, 7:45 is late. I'll be there, when things don't go as planned, you set your mind on one particular thing, it will work like this, and then something or someone throws a spanner in the works. It's just as if the whole world falls apart. Things like that I do find difficult. But not knowing that I was autistic, I just thought it was one of those things, and people got annoyed with little things like that. The whole misinterpretation of things, I can understand where people are coming from with that. Although I have learnt that it is more nuanced. When I was about 5-6 years old, I remember being in a gymnastics class, and I kept doing something wrong. Couldn't do it. And the teacher went and said, if you do that again, I'll kill you. So I actually thought, do that again, I am dead. There will be a small coffin and mourning parents. And it completely freaked me out. I said, I'm not going to those classes again. That's it. The person's going to kill me. So yeah, I've learned that when somebody says that, it doesn't actually mean that anymore. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
You just I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if it did mean that. So yeah, when somebody is joking, that's the classic one. If somebody is joking about something, you just don't get it, and you think they're being serious, and they have said, no, I'm joking. Oh, right, okay, fine. Doesn't seem like a joke to me. So there's little things. I think the main one is noise. I'd have to say the main one is noise, because I found when I was working in architecture, I'd be working in the office, and the only way I could concentrate is if I had music on and your earphones on, because otherwise all I'd hear in the background was people tapping away on keyboards, and it was just trying to concentrate on something that is very technical. You got tap 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 going on in the background. That is probably one of the things that I don't like. Going into noisy environments, I don't like. Crowds are just a no-no. Crowds are very difficult. I'm so glad for the internet, so Christmas shopping doesn't involve shops anymore.
Yeah, so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, because I used to be like the SAS, in and out before anybody noticed. Just go in there, grab it, pay for it, gone. And the funny thing was that the only occasion I went to a Doctor Who convention, you were full of people. The convention is full of people like-minded, all like-minded. But there's so many of them.
Yeah, there is.
And it's like crowded and noisy, and you have to, well, I certainly had to sort of immerse myself in the moment. Otherwise, I would have just ended up climbing the walls. But they were good. It was great. There were so many people you could engage with and stuff like that. That helped. That was a really big help. So I think the general one is noise. Is noise, but background noise and stuff like that. Was to trying to concentrate. that is the real difficult one. The real difficult one. Yeah.
Yeah, because especially like noise is the main one for me as well. But like so similar to you, when I was younger, I did take like sarcasm and stuff more seriously, and like even sayings like the sayings people use, like yeah, I probably got upset about things that were meant in jokey ways, but you wasn't sure if it was, and you wouldn't ask either. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember my this is quite a bit of a biggie actually. I was probably about, and this is something that, you know, you've got two misunderstandings in this, two different situations, both linked, and this is classic. I was probably about 5, 6, yeah, I was about 6 years old, and we were sat in, now this is in the 1970s, and I was sat in an assembly or something like that. We're all sitting there cross-legged on the floor. There's a guy sitting next to me, a chap by the name of Jason Evans. And of course, with 6 years old, you're going through my teeth are dropping out stage. Jason Evans next to me said, I've got this tooth here is loose. He's wobbling it and wobbling it. And he said to me, I bet you can't hit it out. So I smacked him one in the mouth. Blood, tooth, the works. I thought, well, he asked me to do it. Anyway, grabbed by the shirt collar, marched up in front of the headmistress, who was the person that was actually kicked out of the SS for cruelty. Oh, she hated children. She hated children. I think she was related to the Moors murderers at some point, on some level. Yeah, she's dead now. Libel and slander her to my heart's content. And anyway, they marched me up to the headmistress's office, knocked on the door, wait. So I'm sat outside there, 6-year-old, petrified. And with that, because it's two schools split, when I had a headmistress, you were there to the age of 8. Next door was the junior school, which had a headmaster. And anyway, the door opened, and out walked the headmaster, and here's this quaking child outside me. And he goes, who is this? And the headmaster goes, this is Jason Maxworthy. He said, what have you done? I said, I've hit somebody in the mouth and their tooth came out. And he got a fag packet out. And he wrote in a cigarette packet, he said, Jason Maxworthy, if he does this again, he said, send him to me. You know, ultimate sanction there. Anyway, I didn't think I thought, right, okay, if anything else happens, I'm really going to be in it. Anyway, about 2 years passed, again, back in the same assembly hall, again, sat on the floor. And there was a guy sat in front of me who's basically the school hooligan. And he kept turning around and flicking my leg, hitting my legs. He kept turning around. I'm like, what am I haven't done anything. Kept turning around, flicking, hitting me. I thought, oh, I've had enough of this. You get to that point.
Yeah.
Bam, I hit him. And he suffered from nosebleeds. Oh, yeah. Guess what? Straight out of the road. Over the show. You know, me blood in that assembly hall. Anyway, the teacher saw this going on, you know, this boy crying, blood all over the shop. And one came up to me, my teacher came up to me and grabbed hold of me, and I thought, that's it, now I'm going over to the headmaster. This is it. And I had a complete meltdown.
Yeah.
It was the full screaming. My only objective at that moment in time was to get out of that room. To get out of that room and get out far. I was dragging this grown woman across the floor. I was screaming and yelling. She was having a hell of a time. And even like 10, 15 years later, people said, do you remember that time you dragged that teacher across the floor? I said, well, she wouldn't let go. My only intention was basically primal survival instinct. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And said to the headmaster, I'm out of here. Oh yeah, that was a I thought the end of the world was come. And yeah, I think they realized at that point, yeah, we better just sit him down and try and get him. I can't remember anything after that apart from just having this almighty meltdown in front of the entire school. Because I thought, that the headmaster probably, written it on a cigarette packet and thrown it out, forgotten who I was. And that was that. But yeah, that was probably looking back at it, it's probably the first big meltdown I ever had, autistic meltdown. It was frightening. It really was. And I cannot remember anything after it apart from dragging this poor teacher across the floor. Probably a list of its educational achievements, that might be. Highlight of his education, dragging teacher across the floor. So that was, of course, autism and that, nobody knew anything about it back then in the 1970s. You were just a difficult child. And the panacea for everything then was a damn good hiding. Thank goodness we have moved on. Thank goodness we have moved on from that. In a lot of ways, I am, wouldn't use the word envious, jealous, or anything like that. I'm so glad for kids that get diagnosed early that they are spared that. They are spared that because they then come into they then find themselves in the neurotypical environment, which I was totally unsuited for. And the neurotypical environment sniffs that out. Here's the one that's different. It's almost Darwinian in the way in which they behave. You are a marked individual from that moment on, because they know, oh, what should we do? What should we do? We'll do something today. Let's go make that autistic child's life hell today. On occasion, I'd just be sitting there minding my own business, reading a book, and it would all go off. They'd provoke me. A number of times I was dragged in front of headmaster, teachers, or whatever, because some kid thought it was fun to have a go. And I just belted him. So I got the blame. There was no, well, what did they do first to deserve that? Oh, they didn't want to know about that. So that was the unenlightened environment I grew up in. And yeah, there's baggage with it. I'll be honest. And I've had to deal with that. And it's a case of my autism, Asperger's syndrome. I react in that way because of that. And the world outside that I work in, I live in, I think it's my duty to actually say, "Oh, hold on a minute. There's certain things that you may think my behaviour is strange. I might not get jokes, etc. I might rabbit on a bit about things. That's because that's who I am. That's because that's the way the wiring is." And yeah, I've met really enlightened attitudes towards it, and I have also met attitudes that frankly belong in prehistory, not even the Stone Age. In the working environment where I work at the moment, work for the John Lewis Partnership, their attitude is so enlightened. It really is. It's, if every employer took on board one thing and the way they treat people who are neurodistinct, neurodivergent, whatever you care to call it, people's workplaces would be wonderful, would be much improved. But it's getting through this stigma. You tell in certain environments that I have worked, the attitudes have been, well, you're just a cripple and it doesn't show. That's how it's viewed. You are invalid. You are almost along the lines of again, this sort of Darwinian idea that well, sorry, you're not one of the fittest. You have a non-seeing disability, therefore you have a disability, therefore you're not as good as the rest of us. The fact that autistic people can offer so much in innovation, in ways of doing things, in the ways of seeing, new ways of carrying out, going against that norm of we've always done it this way. Well, why have you done it that way? Because it works. Well, why haven't you done it the way we've been doing it? Because this way works quicker and better. Oh, but we've always, so you come up against that. But it's things are changing, which is good. But some places, people, organizations, it'll take a lifetime to change, because the attitudes and ways of behaving are so deeply ingrained. For instance, as I said, I was a train driver.
Yeah.
I had an interview for a train driving job recently, and they asked me about my autism, and they said, "How does it affect you?" And I said, "Well, I'm comfortable following rules." I said, "Procedures, etc., etc., and things like that." Well, he said, "What if it goes wrong?" I said, "Well, I revert to the rule book." I said, "I revert to everything that I've been taught." To which the guy said, "I wish there were more autistics on the railway." So it's in a lot of ways. I think there are a lot of people working in the rail industry that are autistic, but they are afraid to mention it.
Yeah.
I've been dealing in contact with an organization called Scope, and one of the people I spoke to there said, "Yeah, there are plenty of them in the rail industry. There are so many neurodivergent in the rail industry. It's just that they're afraid.
Yeah,
because of this attitude, which is changing, but as I said, it'll take a lifetime. But we can, you know, we as individuals, we can do a bit. We can advocate. We can prove this is the value we have. This is what we can do. This is what we can offer you, and this is how we can improve things by being ourselves, being what just a bit of what the culture wants us to be. Well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for us. You won't get the best out of us. Architecture. When I was in architecture, I was fortunate in so far as I was able to innovate and design different things, because most of the work I did was technical, and you were able to do that. I did things that had never been done before, to the best of my knowledge, and they were happy for you to do that. I know actually there is an architect's practice in America somewhere that only employs people with autism, because they will solve problems a whole lot better than neurotypicals. So I'm a firm believer that there's an awful lot that humanity can benefit from.
Yeah, I agree, because I don't think you're saying, because like some jobs like trains and stuff, and it is good those places are allowing, like, saying that we need more people that are autistic, because that like you say, like, you follow the rule book in order, and has to be done in a certain order as well. And I think there's still a lot more to be done from going forward. Actually this week, actually hearing our organisation speaking about autism and saying it needs to be cured, it's a disease, when it's definitely not that. It's why you think you're in the 21st century, right? You think that we don't need to tell people it is, which is why there needs more acceptance of understanding, especially like in the workplace as well. Like it's rare that you actually find a job are accepting nowadays, and on top it is hard to get a job, isn't it? Especially one you like as well.
Yeah. And I remember reading in a book a couple of years ago that somebody made the comment that if it wasn't for autistics, that the human race would probably still be sitting in a cave having a meeting on what the wheel should look like. Whereas the autism thought, right, okay, we'll do it this way. Not going to be square. No, not straight lines. Try round. We'll do it that way. And some people have said that it's possibly, I don't know whether this, only time will tell, perhaps this is a new phase of human adaptation, evolution, what do you ever care to call it, that's probably what autism is. It's been around. Okay, people have tried to do post diagnoses on various people, for instance Mozart, Beethoven, Einstein, and people like that, which I don't think is really fair. It's a stab in the dark at best. But a lot of these people that have innovated and have done things have been autistic and have been out there and said, yep, that's the way the wiring is. So I'm a firm believer that we have a lot to contribute, and I've worked with people who are autistic, and management hasn't known what to do with them. I've been working alongside these people, and I thought, okay, what works best for this person? So I've sat down with somebody and said, look, they need this, this, and this. They need to be completely focused, otherwise they're just bouncing off all over the place. Give them a clear set of instructions, they follow the instructions, and then once they've completed that next set of instructions, I said, that's all you need to do. Because I did this at where I am now. And once they got hold of that, this individual is up and running. They blossomed. It's a case of put the right plant in the right soil, it'll grow. And that's what happened. And yeah, I as I say, our differences need to be embraced, developed, nurtured, encouraged, but above all else, understood.
Yeah, I completely agree, because like because we have, it's good. I'm glad that we have so many people out there that embrace it, and it is, I think, whatever age you are, when you get a diagnosis of anything, but when you get a diagnosis of autism, everyone has it differently. Like some people may not accept it, some people maybe already know about autism, and I think you're always going to think, aren't you, if you're diagnosed later in life, how was I going to feel if I was diagnosed really young, or if I was diagnosed young, how am I going to feel when I'm diagnosed as an adult? So it's all those things you're going to think about, but it's a process, isn't it? Like understanding it yourself. And once you've understood it yourself, it's your choice if you want to tell people. If you feel like your friends are going to understand it, if not, like, which you may hide it. But it's all these different things. But like you say, we should embrace having autism. And like people say, like superheroes, don't they? But it's not like a superhero like Rayman, it comes up quite a lot, which is
the classic. They all think we're Rain Man, and it's no, we're not. No, if only. The very first time I ever heard the word autism, it was there was a program on donkeys years ago, back in the 80s, called Quincy, and there was one case. There was one particular episode. He was a pathologist with the police, and he was dealing with kids with autism in one particular, and I was probably about 12, 13 when I saw this program, and I thought, it just lodged there. I did, okay, they demonstrate the extreme end of it, but it always, there were elements of it that certainly resonated with me when I saw it. I remember very little of it, my dear, to be honest. But it was, that was the first time I ever heard it. Then I hadn't heard it until the film Rain Man came out. And that was probably the only couple of occasions I had. It was only when a friend of mine, who is, well, he's an architect, but he specializes in access consultancy. So he deals with both seen and unseen disabilities. And he's just published a book called Designing Mind-Friendly Environments. And it's a guide for architects. Okay, this is how we can design buildings that are better for people that are neurodistinct. and it was him that sort of started talking to me about autism, Asperger's, and stuff like that. Of course, he was, bless him, this friend Steve was dropping hints which just sort of bounced off me, and it's like, you know about autism, but you actually need to just say, I think you're autistic. Not, it took me years to cotton onto these hints, and that's when I went for a diagnosis. So that's where that came from. He was hinting to me in about 20. Yeah. Don't know what happened there.
Not sure.
Perhaps I was boring Zoom.
Well, what if you're staying here? I'm just going to convert the other one. I'll see if it is converted.